Hello all. In this video, we are going to see how we can develop node.js web server and what is node.js. So first we will see how to install node.js quickly. If you Google node.js download in Google, you will end up in this URL nodejs.org/en.download, and this is the URL. You can see that there are two options provided: LTS and current. LTS is long-term support and current is current features, latest features. I personally recommend LTS because current feature will have potential bugs. Anyway, they are going to fix it, but that will come as a next LTS version. But for our understanding and development, I recommend LTS. And please download based on your operating system, whether you have Windows, Mac, or Linux. And you can download the MSI. I downloaded for Windows, so you can download MSI and install and follow the steps to install Node.js. Okay, with that we'll go to Visual Studio Code. That is the IDE we are using for our programming. So now what we are going to do is we are going to see what is Node.js. Node.js is nothing but a way you can run JavaScript code out of browser. So that is what Node.js is all about. If you quickly ask for the definition, it is a way you can run JavaScript not only, in the browser, but also outside of the browser. It means you can run JavaScript in desktop as a desktop application or web server, or you can use Node.js as a file access, writing, reading files from the local operating system. So these are the use cases apart from browser. So basically, Node.js is a way to use JavaScript as a desktop application or web server or file server, which is reading and writing files from the operating system. It is basically not only browser. JavaScript, we now always think about it's a browser technology, right? Node.js is offering that JavaScript can also be used as other purposes like desktop application, web server, and file access server, etc. So we are going to see how to build web server in Node.js. So for that we have created a server.js file, and for to create a server in Node.js we need something called HTTP, the package. The library HTTP library is required. So we are going to import it in our server.js file using const http is equal to require. Require will import the HTTP library into our server.js. So that is what is happening in the first line. So we need a HTTP library and we are importing it using require keyword in Node.js. So next thing is we have to define a port. I'm defining 3000 as our application port. Okay. And now the next step is to create a server. Constant server, we name server, is equal to HTTP library dot create server. So this is a function which will take another function with two parameters, request and response. So that's it. We have created a server here. So in this particular portion, line number 5, we are going to write more logic on it, but we'll do it little later. Before that, we are going to see how to listen to the port 3000. How to make the server listen to port number 3000, that we are going to see. So we have now created a server and we are going to make it listen to port number 3000. So server dot, there is a function called listen which will accept port number. We have already defined it, and one more method which is having error as a parameter. And this method, we are going to check if there are any error. We are going to print it in the console that there is something wrong. If there are any error, we are going to print in the console that there is something wrong with the server. Else, if there are no errors, then we are going to print server is listening to so and so port. In our case, the port number is 3000. So this is just an informative message for us. For example, when you start a server, whether it is working correctly, it is started, or something went wrong, those kind of informative message we are trying to provide using these statements from line number 11 to 13. So now, how to start this web server? We are going to terminal. Before that, what we have done, we have created a simple server in nodejs using the http library, and we have made the server listen to port number 3000. If there are any error, then we will say it is wrong, something wrong. Otherwise, we will say server is listening to the port number which is already defined, 3000. Okay. Now, how to run this server in Visual Studio Code? We will go to new terminal and we will type node space server.js. So that this is how we will run the server node.js server. So it is printing server is listening to 3000. It means server started without any errors. So far so good. Now if you look at our coding, we have not returned anything. So this server is not doing anything. Simply we have created a server and we have listened to the port. That's all. So we have to return something so that it is responding to the user request. For that, what we are going to do, we are going to write something in the response which is going to be shown to the user. So what we are going to write in the response, res response dot write. Inside that function we are saying first node.js web server. Okay, now we have to end the response. That is very important. So we have written the text and you have to end the response, otherwise it will not work actually. Now if you refresh it, it will not work because it has to be, I have already something running, so that is what you are seeing, but don't confuse with that. So here if you CLS, if you have to restart in order to see the changes, otherwise it will not reload actually. So you have to stop the server, then restart it again, then only you will see the changed code here. Okay, now we have seen first node server web server is running. So this is pretty much working now. But normally in software development, what we want to do is we want to return some HTML. That will be the typical scenario in our day-to-day life, right? For example, you have a server and it will normally return response in the form of HTML. So that one we are going to implement now. So we'll see how to implement that. So in this case, we got the response back from server. Now what we are going to do is we are going to write the response with some HTML file. So now for that we are going to create a HTML file which will be responded back to the caller of the URL. So for that I am going to create index.html here, and if you click shift plus exclamation symbol in Visual Studio Code, it will create a basic HTML for you template, and then here we are going to write our first body statement. This is my first node.js web server, and this will be serviced when you call localhost 3000. So we have to now respond back with the index.html, right? For that, what we need another library like HTTP. Before that, what we are telling to the server is response.write head. Write head means header, head of the response. 200 means status code 200 means it is a successful response, and then you are going to write headers for that. So there are lots of headers you can write, but we are going to write header called content type. So you have to open close parenthesis. Then you are going to write one header called content hyphen type. So C caps after hyphen T caps and colon single quote text slash HTML. What does it mean? The line number 5 tells the response is in the form of HTML and the status code is 200. The HTTP status code 200 means it's a success. It is a successful response. So the request is success. You get the response back. So to read the file, we need another library called FS file system. And similarly to HTTP, we are declaring const f yes equal to require fs. And in fs, there is a method called read file. And inside that, there is a method and there is a file name. First parameter is file name index.html. Then there is another function where it takes error and data as a parameter. There are two parameters. And here, if it is error, if there are any errors, what we are going to do is we are going to write the response.write head as 404. Normally, like we have seen 200, right? 200 means success, 404 means file not found. So in the response, we write some useful information, error and file not found. The status code would be 404 and the message would be error file not found. Okay. Now, if there are no errors, it means that we got the data. We read the file and we got the data back. Then we are going to write the data into the response. Okay. And one more thing we have to do, we have to delete this part. We are not we don't need that. And the response dot end should be happening inside the read file callback. So that whether if it is error, then we write something. Otherwise, we write the data and we end the response. Okay. Now, if we go and refresh the browser, we have done the server part. We have read the file index.html and try to respond back. Nothing happening, right? If you refresh, because you have to stop the server and start the server. So that you have to remember. So Control C to stop and then node space node server.js. If you refresh, you get the HTML back. HTML content is responded for you. So this is what I want to see in this video. If you have any doubts or questions, please ask in the comments. I will answer. Please practice more with the very bigger content index.html file or different files, and ask in the comment if you have any doubts.